Hello, good evening, good morning, good afternoon from wherever you're watching us from. We thank you and welcome you here on Uganda Crossroads. This is CFTV, where we always meet up, discuss issues, politics, everything that happens back in Uganda that really concerns us and many followers or friends of Uganda as citizens in our Africa as a continent, and of course the world at large. Tonight, I want to thank you again for joining us here on Uganda Crossroads. The team is already here: Sarah Joy Bakanasa, Richard Myombia, and of course our usual guest, Haman, is also back in the studio today to, break down the issues that happened this past week. Of course, we had the two victims that killed the border man. One was killed already, but one is also under now police custody. So those are some of the things that we may look into a little bit. But of course, our main focus is going to be what President Museveni said during the week, and of course how Bobi Wine and Buganda Premier, or even the Ugandans, responded to those issues. Those are the things that we're going to discuss on today. And I believe that by the time we end up this show, one, you would have gotten something new information, or even shared our page. So please do the following: share the page, invite as many people to like CFTV, Live MTV Live. If you're watching us on Facebook, and if you're here in the United States of America, keep watching CFTV Media. Guys, I want to thank you for joining me today. It's always great to have you in the studio, Richard, Haman, Sarah. The week, to me, it was a very wonderful week. I don't know whether to you guys, of course, it cannot be, 100% perfect, but at least, there were certain things that I really appreciate out of the week. But when I look at back in Uganda, based on President Museveni's speeches and other opposition leaders, and of course the economy itself, sometimes I feel like something wrong is going on in our economy. So guys, I want to start with Hamad. Hamad, you've been lost for quite a number of weeks. You've not been coming. So I want to give you the opportunity to start first. How was your week?
My week was good. Back home, I am not happy about the way the country is. I have been away because of several engagements. But I am happy to be back, and I'm happy to talk about the things that sit deep within my heart. And I hope that the viewers enjoy, and I encourage them to share the page. Yeah,
sure. Thank you so much. Sarah, I always, like I always say, I break protocol. But I want to go to Richard before I get to you. How was your week?
My week has been amazing, and I'm good. All
right, sounds good. Richard?
Yeah, my week has been amazing and very interesting. We see things that are going on around the country and in America. So we are moving to the right direction.
Yeah, we're moving to the right direction. I wanted to start with what happened this week, but let me get a little bit back. You were in Chicago when Bobi Wine was receiving the award. I saw the pictures. I saw you celebrating with him. What was the award for?
It was a humanitarian activism award. Bobi Wine being recognized as one of the trending people to push for humanitarianism and activism. But the conference itself was about women's affairs, and in his speech, Bobi Wine talked about Stella Nyanzi and her fate, her more than 6 months or almost a year in prison, I think. He talked about how our state has stepped on women, and now we have, it is rampant and common that, the country only cares about, the government only cares about itself but not its people, and particularly women who have suffered the poor misrule of Uganda. So that's generally what it was about. But also the other thing, while we were there, we had a meeting with him, and there were people from different states, and we talked about how the strategy for the upcoming election in the diaspora might run, and that was a very fruitful, I think, meeting. But it was really good and productive in my view.
All right, sure. So you talked about Stella Nyanzi, and I want to now I want to make it open to everyone. Thank you for bringing some water. It's really interesting, guys. And now I want to come back to the studio. Haman mentioned about Stella Nyanzi's case, and recently this week, President Museveni came out and said that he is not concerned about annoying him. He's a free man who doesn't care. He's been in power and people have always abused him and all that. I want to start with Sarah. Does that make President Museveni a very great man or a liar?
I think he's been lying for a very long time, so maybe the best time would be he's a pathological liar at this stage, because if you go way back where he talked about being in power for only 2 terms, where every time he has been extending his term, he's going today, he's going tomorrow. So he's, I think he's a certified, he has a PhD in lying. And he's, you know, when you lie for a long time, it becomes part of you, and it's nothing big. It's okay to lie. So he's used to lying. And, you know, and he's a flip-flopper. Today he will say this, tomorrow he will say that. I think there's, if tomorrow he wakes up and says contrary to what he said earlier, I don't think Ugandans should be. I think there are certain things you get from leaders that no longer alarm you, and you're like, oh my God, did he say that? I think at this point in time, Ugandans are used to the president lies. He lied from 1986. He lied, you know, he lied all the way through the 10-point programs. He lied he was only going to stand in 2006. He's been lying for a long time. So,
all right. So let me put it clear. The president blamed the police for focusing on small issues like annoying him. Richard, what comes to your mind?
No, I was looking at the Stella Nyanzi case. You see, the Stella Nyanzi case has generated a lot of attention around the world. And I think this week it's going to be dropped because the file was called by the High Court, and that means the judgment that was going to be passed is not going to be passed. I think the Stella Nyanzi case, people like Stella Nyanzi never wanted to defend herself, not because she never did it. It's because of her determination to contribute to the struggle. When a country reaches to the point where people like Nyanzi that can speak for the country come out and say, for me, I can be in prison for 1 year, for 2 years, but I can be an example of how people are feeling on the ground. I think the country has reached a point of being set free because now people are determined. Whatever you do to them, they're determined to get rid of you. And I think it's going to be a very interesting week this week, and the way things are going to be done by the High Court. Either the DPP is going to drop the case, or I don't know, something's going to happen. But I think she's a very good woman that has contributed to the awareness of how people are suffering in the country, in every corner of the country. So I like that lady.
Yeah.
All right. So yeah, how many before you go into adding on your point, let's be clear. The Ugandan Constitution says, now under the Section 24 of the Penal Code Act, it says that it makes it an offense to alarm or annoy or ridicule the president. The maximum punishment is lifetime imprisonment. How many did the president lie? Because he's the guy who signed this bill when it came to then after it came into a law.
When he said that he is not annoyed,
yeah, people shouldn't care about annoying him.
Well, he claims he's not annoyed. I mean, he says one thing like she said, he says one thing and does the other. And eventually these things catch up to you. Ugandans are very tolerant and very forgiving and kind of mostly passive people. They, you know, they listen to you, you lied, they know, but then they play along. But after 33 years, you know, it becomes impossible to convince anyone. People start to be not only passive, but people become infuriated when you tell them persistent lies. Now, the Constitution, he says, you know, he doesn't, you know, they signed, NRM people signed and agreed that Ugandans shouldn't talk anything bad about the president. Now, who decides what's bad and what's good is very subjective more than objective. But Museveni, I think he was this operation, they call it wealth creation, I call it vote creation. It is in an effort to please the people. So he wants to be that daddy that is very forgiving, he's very approachable, but the only thing, his sole thing that you can't approach, that you can't touch, is his votes and his presidency. These are the things you can talk about, but as long as you come to say, you know, your son, you're intending to make your son president, that is very bad, and you end up in prison. If you come and say, oh, you're saying something wrong, like what the Katikiro said, oh, you're misgoverning the country, then he puts his foot down and tries to be the strong man. And that is one of the things that Bobi Wine teaches us, that people keep asking me, oh, what are your policies? What are your strategies with the people power and whatever? And the thing is, Bobi Wine doesn't teach us to create new policies. He doesn't teach us to bring up new rules. He teaches us to enforce rules that are actually enforceable and beneficial to the population. That's why people ask him all the time, what are the new rules? He says, we have the rules. That is what Ugandans haven't listened to and appreciated yet. The rules are existent. But Bobi Wine's preaching is only to get people who are able to enforce the rules and bring about change, and all these wealth creation strategies, president moving from town to town, preaching about, you know, register your coffee, register your cow. These are, right. These are things that do not have to happen if the rules are actually being followed, and if the rules are to serve the population and not the presidency.
All right, sure. I want to thank you, but just as a reminder to the people who are watching this online, there are a number of people who have been arrested. Some of those you know of Dr. Stella Nyanzi, you know of Joseph Kablet of recent, but there are other people who were arrested earlier. They are Joseph Kasumba, who was never mentioned in the media. There are these music producers who were arrested in 2017 for producing songs that police saw as annoying the president. So this trend has been going on and on for a good time. Now, this is what the president said. I think the issue is not annoying me as a president if it is those police people who talk about small issues. He said the bigger issues are lies and inciting violence and distortion. Those are the things that the president looks at. And when I come to you back, Sarah, when the president talks about incitement, that is what you guys in People Power are doing by mobilizing people to go on roads in part of campaigning, but that is seen as under public management or the bill. It's like you're disorganizing the state. What is your view about that, as the president said?
But again, Ugandans have a right to peacefully demonstrate. I've not seen Ugandans come out to be violent unless violence is done to them. Because if you come out, you don't have any guns, you don't have anything, and then police is responding back to you with tear gas and bullets, then who is violent? I think the state and the people in government have been more violent to Ugandans more than anything else. But again, we should look at, just like I said earlier, the president saying that he's not even bothered or you know, he does not give, you know, he does not, you know, pay much attention to people either who insult him or say stuff about him. So many people, just like you said, producers, you saw Joseph Cabrera, whatever he wrote, he's ended up behind bars. So many people have been ended behind bars because they've expressed themselves in terms of annoying the president. That's why he terms it. Bajo has just come out on prison on bail. But what did Bajo say? Other leaders have not said. He just repeated what Dr. Besigye has been saying all the time. He has just repeated what other people have been saying all the time, that we need to get back our power before 2021. And before 2021, it doesn't mean people should gather guns to take over power. You've seen what has happened in other countries like Tunisia and all those other countries. People managing to take back their power by peacefully coming out in large numbers, and even with the international community joining and putting pressure on government so that, you know, the sitting president had to relinquish power and give it back to the people. So people do not have to have guns, go back and fight. I think the mentality of the president, whenever he feels, you talk about an uprising, he feels the wananchis are going to pick up guns and start shooting. Because that's what his background, and that's where he's coming from. But people can still come out. You see what happened in in Sudan. In Khartoum, people came out in large numbers. Whenever people come out in large numbers, they can cause, you know, a revolution. They can cause a sitting president to stand down. So I think he needs, but we've seen the rate at which people have been, you know, arrested even from radio stations. There's one guy, People Power guy, who was arrested from, I think he was in Kawempo somewhere. He was on radio, you know, talking, and then by the time he came out, he was already, and there are so many you do not know that are being arrested. But I think it is very clear from what we've seen, the president is really scared of what people have to say, and he fears more people who have, who puts out harsh, people who are, you know, people who are determined, and people who put out harsh words. He's so afraid of them. So that's why, and because I've seen, I was told Bajo was arrested on the orders of the first son. There are people, you know, and I don't understand him being a first son. I don't know, and being a commander in the UPDF, I don't know how he gets involved in Wananchi politics, unless there's something they're planning. But for Stella Nyanzi, Dr. Stella Nyanzi, she has, I know very much so that someone mentioned to me that she's doing a great job in Luzira, and you could see a research paper coming out when she comes out. She's not just in Luzira seated. She's in Luzira, but she's been, you know, writing about, she's been, I think, researching and doing her works in how the lives of people, the women in Luzira, how they live, how they feed. I think he's going to when he comes out, she's going to have great findings that are, you know, hidden between the walls of Luzira that the world does not know. So I think she might come up with the research paper that is going to be good.
All right, so Richard, before I go out of that topic, now that the president said it's okay for people to annoy him, does that make Stella Nyanzi free now? Does she have a legal defense now?
No, you see, there are two Musevenis. For me, I saw the first Museveni when we used to come on the street to greet him. And I think it was the late Serwanga Rwanga that stopped him from doing that. Museveni used to come out on the open. It was used to pass on Entebbe Road, Ginger Road, Katwe, everywhere in the open. And people would clap for him. Now, 30 years later, he sees these people power, well mobilized, well liked by the people. Look at today what happened in Igulu. Igulu was one of the most resistant areas in the history of Buganda. Look at what happened today in Igulu. People are welcoming people power. They are welcoming him in Uganda. So he sees that this time, he's not going to fool anyone. He's going. So the second Museveni is bringing out his true colors. I was watching I posted it on my Facebook, how Binaisa fell. Binaisa fell because Museveni, as a Minister of Defense, refused to be put out of office. That's how Binaisa fell. So Museveni, a tricky man who was cunning to get to power, now is in power for 30 years. Now he sees that the exit door is open for him to go. What do you think he should do? He's now the second Museveni, worse more than Obote, worse more than Idi Amin, and he's going to even be more worse than any other leader that's happened in Uganda, unless we wake up to stop him. There's going to be massacre. But will not just go like that.
But the second Museveni, you've been experiencing him for a long time. I think for the past 10 years, the moment he started flip-flopping and, not sure. Yeah, shifting goalposts, saying I'm leaving in 2006, and then give me one more term, and one more term became another one more term, and then now having life presidency, you do not know when he's going to stop standing. For the last 10 so years, you've already seen exactly, because if you talk to people who are around in 1986 when President Museveni was coming to power, they do not know the Museveni who has been leading Uganda for the last 10 years.
It actually looks like Bobby Wine. The Museveni of 1986, I had a long discussion with my uncle who was around then, and he told me that those days, like every NRM day, that 10th January that they celebrate, that after Museveni, after the overthrow, after the end of the war, for the next maybe 4 or 5 years, people would celebrate. That was one of the most celebrated days in the history of the country. But currently, it is vice versa. You know, Obama said that, you know, leadership doesn't change you it exposes you. It shows your true colors once you get into leadership. So Museveni then was the sweetheart of Ugandans. Now he, you know, the sheep's skin is wearing off, and people are actually seeing that actually we brought maybe a worse Obote or a worse, you know, all those people who were in the military council who brought about the election and change of power. So you know, it is disappointing and frustrated. But I also want to show Ugandans some light, that there's a light at the end of the tunnel. You know, you have a young, vibrant politician who is telling you, I am here. And what my call out to Ugandans is to embrace a youthful, productive, vigilant, welcome man. Now this, you know, we might welcome him like we did Museveni. This is another people's worry, that once Bobi Wine is welcome, he might change. But you give him a chance, the same way you did Museveni. You give him a chance, and if he changes on you, you change him. What he's preaching is that the power belongs to you. So you have the ability to choose who should rule you. Leave alone this militarization of Uganda and the Ugandans. No. Take back your power. Vote me. If I do wrong things, vote me out. And that is the preaching that we are
right. That's the preaching
sending
that
to people.
Right. So how many you mentioned something. Now I want to go out of that stuff that you know we've been talking about. Let's focus on the new development between people power and people's government. Recently, Daily Monitor reported that they're almost coming to the final stages of their agreement. And we have heard again in the same week, Honorable Robert Kyagulanyi coming out clearly to say, I and my team, we concluded that I will be the best candidate to represent people power movement. Now, let's start from there. It's going to be an open discussion. When I start with Sal, it's going to be an open discussion. Bobi Wine is coming out to say that is now fully, yes, registered as a people power card holder. Does it bring sense to the negotiation they have between them and FDC or people's government?
Either way, whether, because one of the things you must understand, Bobi Wine has shown interest in standing for presidency for quite a while. And I feel the public feels the same way. They want to give him a chance. So, you know, votes, politics and elections are won, mainly they must be a popular vote, especially in Uganda. It's not like in the United States where people are voted through, where the president comes through the electoral colleges, even if the popular vote voted someone else. So you need numbers. So Ugandans have already shown that he could be the best candidate because of the way he's articulating issues, or the way, or what he stands for. And the most important thing, he resonates with the 75% of the population. There are young people who wants to see someone different, because what has been happening in Uganda, you've had one president for the last 33 years. Some people some people do not know any other president, or some people were young when President Museveni came into power. So it's been a one president for a very long time. And again, I like the idea of other political wings coming together, because at the end of the day, like it or not, we need everyone. We need support from everyone to be able to get a block vote. A block vote is very important because, trust me, right now if they are registering, because cows before have been voting without even being registered. Now that cows are going to be given birth certificates and death certificates, I'm sure cows are going to get in Dagamuntu, and they will be voting soon in the coming election. So if you have issues like cows going to be voting in 2021, you need a block vote, because President Museveni is not going to go away by just margins that are maybe you got 45%. No. He needs a block vote. You need a block vote, 80%, 70%, something big that even if they want to rig it, it's really hard. If you go back, I'll take you back to our parliamentary elections where people have gotten, for example, the constituents of Bobi Wine himself, Kyaddono East. He won by a block vote. He won by 80%. Even if he wanted to rig the vote, it was completely impossible because he had won most of the polling stations. So if we all come together, this we need to do together. And in fact, if we go into 2021 divided, it is going to be very hard for us. Because first of all, you're standing against someone who runs the Electoral Commission, who counts the vote, and who decides who is to vote and who is not. And by that I mean, you saw what happened in 2016. President Museveni decided that all urban areas where Dr. Besigye had the most support are not going to vote. And that's what happened. Kampala, Kawempe, all the strongholds of opposition, all the areas where you knew that maybe the opposition is going to gain most votes, they did not appear on the ballot. So it is very, very important now for us to see that we come together. I don't know what it's going to take, because I know there are so many egos. Everyone feels that they are strong. Everyone feels they should be the one. But I wish people can put their egos aside and think about Ugandans for once. It's 40 million people among maybe a few individuals, like 5 or 6. 40, they should think about Ugandans for this period in time. I know that Ugandans really need, we need to see change coming to Uganda, but we are going to do it through a block vote. So if we gang together the votes of Besigye, because we must not dispute the fact that Besigye has been voted a number of times, and he has gained some votes, maybe 5 million, 4 million. There are those people still there. He has support. We shouldn't dispute that. We shouldn't even take it away. He has support, and all these other opposition people that either, you know, whether it's parliament, whether it's, we need to come together, we need to bring people together so that we can go against Museveni in a block, not divided in videos. So I would be very glad to see people FDC, to see the wing of Mugisha Muntu, to see the People's Government, and to see all different political wings, DP, UPC, all coming together and field one candidate, because that's what we need. One block vote. If we win by 70%, there's no Museveni, there's no way he's going to rig the vote. Because if every district, if every constituency you've won, it is going to be very hard for him. Even if he makes the goats and cows and all the animals to vote, even if he makes some other areas not to vote, because we should be prepared 2020, 2021, some areas are not going to vote.
Richard?
So the first thing about this alliance, I like this alliance very well. The first thing, our main job first as people of Uganda is to get rid of Museveni's rule once and forever. So if Besigye brings about the Western vote, because the Western vote and Toro are so crucial in this vote. Bunyoro is on people power. But Toro and the western side and Chigezi area, we are not so sure, because Honorable Chagwanya has not gone there to see what is happening on the ground.
But we were told by the spokesperson for People Power Movement that they are doing groundwork so that they don't have to expose all their movements. So
yeah, but let's see what would happen to make sure that we are not missing out anything. Besigye would bring that ticket very, very well. Because remember now the power is between two people, the Baganda and the Western. What we are fighting for is every Ugandan to be involved in the next affairs of the country, politically and economically, to end the conflicts. Now the second thing is this. Besigye won 52.99.
Yes.
After Rigi, would you think there are no people following him? So this one, we need to bring it on board. The third thing, how many positions are in government? Because what we are fighting for, like me, I'm fighting for the total federation of the country. That means there are going to be more government in every area, not one government. Plus the bigger government, there's the presidency, there's the vice president, there's the prime minister. The third thing is the parliament. Because we need a new constitution in the country. Remember, Museveni is fielding so many people to take over the parliament by himself. And people power doesn't have a political party, but has candidates, whereas FDC is a structured party in the country that shall do very, very, very well to bring about people in parliament. Because you need the parliamentary people to be against Museveni and win there, so that it will be easier for us to change the constitution of a country through referendums and everything else. So I think the alliance, let me finish with this, very, very crucial. Why would Tamale Mirundi so be much interested in putting a wedge between Honorable Kyagulanyi and Besigye? because that's the crucial point in the next election. The reason why Tamara Minun, the spokesman, the propaganda minister for the president of Uganda, is to put a wedge so that the moment these two people fight, they weaken, and then the president gets an upper hand somewhere, somehow. The last thing, one more. Besigye won the election. The people were not willing to sacrifice their lives to uproot the president out of office. Are the people willing to uproot the president in case the election is reached?
Good question.
That is the most important question.
Haman, I want you to finish up with that. Sarah, you have something to say, but Haman, I want you to say something there.
I disagree with a few things that he has said. I disagree with the fact that Bobi Wine is struggling to pull a Western vote. I think that he has managed to already do that. But because he has been all over the country, and the side that he stands on usually supersedes in numbers the ruling party or even the opposition members, and I'll tell you why. People haven't realized, when we are discussing these things, people choose to discuss Besigye has this support, Bobi Wine has this support, Museveni has this support. But people haven't realized that most registered voters in Uganda did not turn up to vote. And these are the people that Bobi Wine is tapping into, and these are the majority. Now, leave alone the people who left, who abandoned Dr. Besigye and moved to Bobi Wine's side. And leave alone the people who moved from NRM and moved to Bobi Wine's side. Bobi Wine's goal at the moment, let's say they fail to unite. The goal is to reduce on voter apathy, you know, voter turnout, and increase the people who show up, not only to vote, but also to protect the vote. So I am not so scared. I am excited. Of course, it is better. We want to win with 95%. But I am not bothered by people not signing into the alliance or, you know, being fully committed. What I am interested in is mobilization efforts, which are ongoing, not only in the country, but also in the diaspora. I saw Bobi Wine calling upon people in Dubai to save and travel home and vote. So it is the voter apathy that we as a movement are tapping into the most. And I want people to be aware of that you might not necessarily see Besigye or Elias Lukwago saying people power, our power, because other random people like Chameleon are now also saying people power, our power. That is not our focus. Our focus is the people who did not turn out to vote, and Ugandans should understand that, and they should register and come and vote.
All right, sorry, finish up with that.
There's something I want to add on before. There's one thing I do not want us to take for granted. We should not take for granted, and I've seen it, people say it here and there, you should not take for granted about people unifying. It is very, very key Ugandans come together because, you know, some of the things, okay, if we say we are encouraging Ugandans who are living abroad to go back home, and let's say theoretically, I want us to, applicability, is it applicable? Most of the Ugandans who are living abroad don't have Indagamount. How are they going to vote? They're not even registered. How are they going to vote? So if you don't have Indagamount, it's going to be hard for you to vote. You see, they are re-registering. There are people telling people now you have to get new Indagamount, or you know, you must go and check yourself on a register to see are you a legible voter or not. So Ugandans who are living abroad, the largest percentage, 90%, may not be able because they are abroad for so many reasons. They are the roots of their families back home. They are the ones the families depend on. So it is really hard for someone to leave their job. Some are abroad, but they are asylum seekers. The asylum seekers whose papers have not really been processed and gone through. So they may, as much as they may want to vote, they are not willing to lose their asylum for just traveling back home to vote. So their benefits to the cause may be to contribute financially, but them going back home to get involved in a practical vote is largely impossible. Is largely impossible. So what I want to encourage is we should not dispute the fact that we need to come together. You cannot defeat, I'll say it again, Ugandans. I know there are Ugandans who never voted the other time. I know there are Ugandans who are not even up to now not interested in politics. But one of the things you must understand, there is people wanting change and ready, and there is people wanting change and ready for change and really ready to participate. So Ugandans have not, we have to make sure the sensitization is very important. The mobilization is very important, of which we need to do more on ground, of which I do not know how much we've done that. Grassroots mobilization. There are some people who are comfortable in their state. So that's why I'm saying I've had so many theories. I've had people say, oh, we don't need to come together. My dear, for you to take out President Museveni, who has mastered having goats, you've had Nakasongola Museveni getting 100%. Who voted in Nakasongola? So the fact that you have a machinery, you don't have an independent electoral body. The electoral body is run by President Museveni. He decides who wins. Even after we agreed that Dr. Besigye won, another candidate was pronounced. So that's why I'm insisting, as much as we are still in the early stages, we need to forge a way to work together with the rest.
Let me ask you guys this question before Hamad, you intervene. Let me ask you. You guys in opposition believe that you can overtake the government, but you within the opposition cannot agree. I will give you an example. This is a quote, and this is what one of the people from FDC said, Mr. Migura. He said, just like Mao cannot join FDC, we cannot also join DP. If they want us to join forces, let them form a new platform. Now, this is like a competition between people power, between people's government, and then DP bloc. Then there is another between FDC and DP. So how are you guys going to put all the things together? Because I'm seeing leaders are confused, meaning even their followers are going to be confused.
No, what the leaders have to do is to take away their selfish ambitions. This is not about political parties. The problems of Uganda are bigger than political parties. The problems of Uganda are bigger than individuals bickering to who is heading what. The problems of Uganda are not for 100 people. The problems of Uganda are for 40 million people. Ugandans have suffered enough. So for the leaders who still want to bicker and, oh, I can't join this, I can't join that, I can't join that. You know, if you don't want change, change will change you. You know, change will force you to get into an environment you do not like. I think Ugandans have spoken. Ugandans really need change. The situation back home is not good. So leaders, the selfishness is supposed to stop. If you've tried 1-2 times and you've not been able to push us somewhere, let another person try. But you see the selfishness with all politicians is everyone wants to be on the table eating the cake. Everyone wants to be the one, leading. Everyone wants to be on top. But what they forget is you have 40 million Ugandans who are suffering, who are going through a day below $1, who do not have the basic needs, who are dying in hospitals because there are no medication. So this is not about FDC. This is not about even people power. This is not even about DP. This is not about people's government. This is about, for once, we need to put 40 million Ugandans in the front before we think about ourselves, before we start struggling for who takes which position. And for us to do that, we have to go with the candidate. Because if you're choosing a candidate to represent you, you don't have to go with the weakest link. Who do people resonate with? Does he resonate with the masses? Do people feel this is the person who should represent them? Ugandans have clearly shown that they have a favorite. They have someone they feel, because he resonates with 40% with 75% of the population, he resonates with the young people. So Ugandans have already spoken and said, you know what, let's give this gentleman a chance, because we've seen where he has come from. He has worked himself way up. So let's give him a chance. So the other leaders, however much they do not like the choice Ugandans have made, because, okay, for starters now, we haven't gone into the vote, but at least we know, we hear what the majority of Ugandans, or what Ugandans are speaking. Their sounds are very clear and loud. Just like Ugandans are saying we want a break from President Museveni, Ugandans have clearly said that, you know what, let's give another person a chance, but the person we want to give a chance is this person who resonates with 75% of the population. Right. So, however much you really do not like Bobi Wine, however much you feel he's not good enough, however much you feel he's not politically experienced, however much you feel he's not good enough to lead Uganda, let's take away our selfish ambitions and go with because this is not about individuals. This is about the 40+ million people who really want change, who have suffered enough and want to see new leadership, who wants to see things change in Uganda. Because Uganda is not the worst country in the world. As much as it might be the worst state right now, if you change leadership, clean it up, it is most likely able to pick up.
All right, so yes,
I would like to say something. You see, since Bobi Wine started, when he started in Chadondo, he was, and this is in response to kind of what Sarah has touched on, that it is, of course, we in the world of utopia, you know, we imagine that all opposition forces are going to come together and agree and front one person, and we shall all support that one person. Ideally, those are dreams that we want. Deep down, any opposition, any change-seeking force, that is their cry. But I want to tell Sarah a story about Bobi Wine. She knows this story, and she, you know, she has talked about it. In Chadondo, he did not need the support of other opposition members to win, right? In Bujiri, he did not need the support of other opposition members to win. In Arua, the same. Why? It is not Bobi Wine. It is not these leaders who matter. It is more the Ugandan. The Ugandan who is being taxed, the Ugandan who has been fooled by opposition for some time. Do you understand? Who has been told, don't come to vote, now I am standing vote. Do you understand? I am not saying that these people are bad, and these people are the ones who have motivated us to sit here today. But what I'm saying is, let us be realistic and focus on what? On our aim. The aim is to change presidency. Now we are the majority, right? And the only way to change presidency is by having majority voters and vote keepers. It is the only way. So, yes, Besige, come, let's talk. But if you do not agree and say, no, for us we are doing this and you are doing that, Ugandans are going to undress you. Ugandans are going to embarrass you. And this is a realistic thing that we have to talk about. But my cry, again, I'm sorry I divert and sometimes talk about individuals, but my cry is to the Ugandan. You know, the diasporan contribution to Uganda is not when I say for diaspora people to go and vote. I mean that when you're sending money home, ask those people, do they have Ndagamuntu? Are they ready? And those are contributions that we can make.
Mean, are they ready to vote for President Museveni?
Are they ready to participate in the election? Voting, the people who vote for President Museveni are consistent. They will always vote. They will always go and line up and vote.
That's the one, 60%?
No, let us be realistic about the numbers. But what I'm saying is that, are you ready? These are the people who haven't turned up, the Ugandans who now have to register to grow coffee, the Ugandans who kill a cow and have to, do you understand?
You're stealing where I'm going. Richard, I want you to say something.
No.
Now, before you start, I want to ask you this question. Mm-hmm. You are a guy who have had several times not in agreement with Dr. Besige. You always want to front Bobi Wine. What if they agree that Dr. Besige is now the sole candidate?
No, that one cannot happen. But what we are fighting for, that's why we are here in the studio tonight, is that we keep an open eye on what is going to happen in Uganda. Remember what has just happened in, you know, Africa has been evolving. What is happening in the neighborhood can happen in Uganda. What happened in the change in the last election in Congo? The guy who won the election, because he was not in agreement with the president who was leaving office, the votes were not changed in favor of the other person, of the candidate of the party, the ruling party, were changed in favor of an opposition that could be fair to their way. Remember, the power right now is in the western side. Museveni's fear, which he has been fearing for so many years and prohibiting to happen, is the power to come in the center. So, if they say Besige is coming in, yes, is he coming in as people have voted him? He's welcome. But is he coming in because of something else? We don't know, because what we are fighting for is true democracy. And let me finish this sentence before we go forward, because this was very important. This is the root cause of the problem of Uganda right now. The decentralization policy. You talked about Nakasongola. Nakasongola was the key area. That's why President Museveni is getting 100% there. Even the opposition, Besigye has been kicked out with sticks and stones. We need to explain to them, to reach out to them tonight, that the decentralization policy of the country is the problem of the country. That's why we are backward. The only alternative for the way forward for the country is two things: total federation and Western democracy. Because Western democracy is what is going to bring the jobs that the people of Uganda need. I'll give you an example, and I've been talking it to the people through my social media. What do we need, we as Ugandans in the diaspora, to have someone in Uganda make $7 an hour for 40 hours? It's more than enough money for him to go and work for $300 in the Arab countries to be killed. This is the way. If we solve our conflicts politically and economically in Uganda, instead of going to China to bring the Chinese where our Ugandans are going to work for 170,000 US dollar, the Ugandan shillings per month, we are going to encourage, and that's why I like Bobby Wine very much, we are going to encourage the Americans to sub-manufacture in Uganda. Uganda will come out of the problems that we are facing in a blink of an eye. So the people of Nakasongola should focus more. Because Museveni yoge kigambo kino kankyogenda mu Uganda, mwaba Nakasongola mwaganda mugende mufukamire nengo. That's how he said exactly. I was right there. And says, no, we want the government in our area. And Museveni said, the people of Nakasongola like decentralization, which means that decentralization and federalism are the same. We said, no, the people in the Constitutional Assembly have said federalism, 70%. Why would you push for such a thing? So we must explain to Ugandans, as we are on media tonight and those that are watching us, that what we are fighting for, especially for us that are in the diaspora, is to have the Ugandan have a better pay in the country. Instead of selling Kabalagala and Mevu and Boda. If you support people power, honestly, and we have put Museveni out of power, we shall have a new Uganda where we shall have jobs even imported. How many millions of Chinese are there? Over 1.3 billion, I don't know the number. It was the Americans, so the outsourcing policy that got China out of the problem it is. How many millions we have in Uganda? 42 million. It will be just 1-2 years. We shall be out. So we must forget about whom to support. We must look at what we benefit. Are we benefiting that will change the country to a modern country? All right. So that's
I want to add on something very briefly. And this goes... I happened to read some of the comments on social media briefly. As much as we want all to agree that if the opposing faction does not come together to unite and say that we field one candidate, we have to go ahead and go with what we have. Now, as Ugandans who really want change, our role and the agents and agents maybe of people power and everyone who wants to see change, the onus is on us to make sure that we sensitize and mobilize every Ugandan back home. Every person, every chance you get an opportunity, you sit in a taxi, you go to the village, you get to speak to the next person, tell them if they understand, what we are up to, the cause, tell them if they really need change, tell them why we need change, and tell them why we need to put a stop to the 33 years of President Museveni. Because this is not only going to take Bobby Wine. It is going to take all of us. All of us are stakeholders, because the problems of Uganda do not affect only Bobby Wine. Whether you live in the diaspora, you're affected by the problems of Uganda because you do not know how many times you send money on Wave. People call you at any time of the day, any time of the night, without even knowing whether you're sleeping or not. Someone is asking for money. Someone is sick. Someone needs school fees. So it is all affecting us. So if the factors we are looking at, we should not, maybe the best thing to do right now is not to put all the eggs in one basket, is to also think through and say, if the other parties do not come together, what is the plan B for us? The plan B should start right now. We should start grassroots mobilization. We should be able to talk to everyone. Even if you live in the diaspora, if you're talking to your jaja in the village, do they understand what People Power stands for? Do they want change? What are they looking for? Because it is going to take one by one. We are going to bring them together, because there are people you don't need to do much because they already understand the cause, they want change, and they're waiting to vote. But they are undecided Ugandans. They do not know what they want. They don't really understand where they want change. They are not, because they've been in this captivity for a long time. When people stay captive for a long time, they become comfortable in whatever they're going through, and it becomes a custom, and they begin to believe that maybe they were born to suffer, or that is their destiny. So it is going to take us, as the Ugandans, if we are going to claim the power from President Museveni, it may not require the forces coming together, because theoretically, we may, as much as we may want it, practically it may not happen, because there are so many egos. Everyone feels should be the one to lead, and these are politicians. You know what happens in politics. Everyone wants to be the one to be in charge of the big cake to serve everyone. So in case that doesn't happen, we must have a plan B. The plan B should be, right now, if we start right now to mobilize every Ugandan, to do the sensitization, to tell people about change. Let's not discuss personalities. If you go to someone, don't tell them about Besigye, don't tell them about so and so. Let people understand their problems and show them the way out of their problems. The way out of their problems, we need to take President Museveni. We need to have new leadership. We need to have someone new to restructure the entire system. Because what you have right now, everything is rotten from top to bottom. Right. There's nothing, and you cannot take away the middle. You cannot take away the top. You cannot take away the bottom. It is a dead state. You just need new leadership to uproot, and you get new structures, new leaders to take on the mantle.
So sure, Sarah, thank you. Now, to the viewers, we always come here and discuss these issues. Now, recently, again, this same week, we as CFTV network, we did some studies, and we are trying to compare if things were done different way, how would you gonna be? Now, we looked into the employment opportunities in our country, and we realized that if the government of Uganda in the last 33 plus years that they've been in power, they had trained or taken the children of Uganda to countries like, China or here in the United States or Canada or these developed economies to study the same things that these countries come and do in our country, Uganda would be far. We took an example of the Chinese, the technology. They send their children here at Harvard and other institutions. Then they go back and do the same activities that actually make them better. Now, we looked into the roads that are constructed in Uganda, the power dams and all that. All these are managed by the Chinese. Now, if Uganda took the Ugandan children or students 10 years back to study in these countries, by now those would be the experts. That means we would have increased the employment opportunities for Ugandans, we would have improved the technology done by Ugandans, and we would have reduced the costs that we pay these Chinese, because we pay them at their Chinese level, not the Ugandan rate. So those are the things that we are studying, and of course, I think our producers will be in position to come up with a documentary very soon, so that people can watch out what we're talking about and all that. Yeah, Hamad.
I want to correct you on a few things. You think about it. You borrow money from me, but every loan that you have borrowed, I am trying to talk about that employment issue that you've raised. Every loan that you have borrowed has conditions. When you go to a bank and borrow money, there are conditions. Now, one of the conditions of almost all the loans Uganda gets from China include you have to employ 40%. They have to be Chinese. Look, because your people are not trained. But I have friends who study in China and who study civil engineering and who know these projects, who understand how to run these machines. Do you understand? So, again, you see, some things we can discuss, and first, before starting to talk about politics, personally, I was trying to see if there was ways that I could avoid involving politics in everything. You see, I would say, mukole show up to work, look for jobs. Do it. Do you understand? But the reality is that these problems that we face, the problems that you're talking about of unemployment, the problems that he's talking about of decentralization, federalism, or whatever, these problems are all linked to the political problem that Uganda faces. And that is why the challenge that Ugandans have is not to send their children to China or Harvard or wherever. You study nursing here and go to Uganda and get a job, I'll pay you myself. Do you understand? So it is that challenge that there is politics linked into every sector, social, economic of the country. So the responsibilities, what you should encourage Ugandans to do is to participate in the politics of their country. and not think about sending their children abroad to study, paying for the best schools. Their focus should be change governance and stop borrowing money from China so that they have this vukwakulizo to employ, do you understand? Like for employment, 30% has to be Chinese or 40%.
Sure.
For, you see,
just to break you from there, the point that we actually discussed was the government sponsoring these children, not parents. The government using its money to sponsor these kids to go in these countries, get the technology, come back. That's how the
transformation
would be.
But you see, unless we are failing to understand, because it all comes down to the selfishness of the leaders we have in power. The money, if we break it down slowly for a layperson who is watching us here, the money we get from China is a loan of which we have to pay back. So if China is giving us a loan, why are they giving us terms and conditions? Why are we having Chinese carrying, doing the pottery work on road constructions? Those are because, sometimes when these road constructions, all these things are happening, there are people who are, if they gave a chance to Ugandans, some people would even learn on the job because this is practical work. Why are we having Chinese doing the pottery work? So many Ugandans can be able to carry the sand from one place to another, carry stones. But why are you bringing Chinese? China is so selfish that it gives you a loan, but it collects all the money they've given you and take it back. At the same time, you have to pay. Because why aren't they employing Ugandans? Look at the other projects that are either sponsored by US or the Danish or these other organizations. It employs Ugandans. You never find pottery work being done by Americans deep down in Kampala. You know how much, they've put in money. These other projects, NGOs, most of the NGOs that are America sponsors, they largely employ Ugandans. Largely employ Ugandans from the MD. What Americans done, you're going to find someone who does monitoring of their activities, but they're not maybe 1-2 people who are Americans in Uganda, but you're not going to have the entire organization run by Americans, from the tea girl to the sweeper to the cleaner. Chinese, and we've basically fallen in love with China, and because our leaders are tired and they're tired, they don't want to think, they don't want to negotiate. That's why they go in for such deals, because you're not getting free money from China. This is money you have to pay back at the end of the day. But what China does, it gives you the money, you have to pay back the money, it gives you also these terms and conditions, and it brings people from the tea girl, from the person serving chapati, from the person doing pottery work. That should be the normal Ugandans. You don't need a degree or a certificate to start doing pottery work. Ugandans who are jobless should be able to go and ask for these jobs and earn wages on a daily basis. And on top of that, even if let's say we are going to look at some of the engineers on this site, you have a full department of civil engineering. Who employs them? Where are they going to work? If China is going to give us a loan of which we are supposed to pay back, it should be, we do not have to have any terms and conditions of how we should execute the work.
All right.
They can bring in their engineers for the, to foresee whatever is happening, but the normal work, the building, the supervision should be done by Ugandans.
All right, so
because when you have people, you have a full faculty of urban planning. Where are they working? You have, civil engineering. You have so much in Makerere University. Let's not even send them abroad. You are graduating kids from all universities, Chambogo, Makerere, Nkumba, Mbarara. Where are they working if you're having Chinese doing all the pottery work? It comes down, sorry, let me finish up. Okay. It comes down to selfish leaders, and that's why at the end of the day we need to change leadership in Uganda. Because our leaders, you've come to a stage where the people who are having the mantle and leaders in this country do not care about the 40% of Uganda. Because if really Museveni cared about all these road constructions, why are we having all these Chinese? Ugandans would be eagerly interested in taking up these jobs because we get these loans expensively and we have to pay back using taxpayers' money. But the same taxpayers' money coming from these poor Ugandans who are minted every left-hand corner to pay these taxes do not even benefit when such job opportunities come to Uganda. The same Chinese send here their porters, their tea girls, tea men to do the work. So basically, China is ripping us off. But because we do not have leaders who care about Ugandans, they are too selfish, they do not want to see Ugandans employed. I think because I've come to conclude that the intention of President Museveni and his leadership is to make sure they have Ugandans who are so poor, malnourished, who are, they want to lead a country of people who have given up, who do not care who is the president. So long as they
Let
they
me
live
try.
and you know,
Richard,
you know,
before I
and
come
die,
back to
that's
you,
it.
let me try to pick up one comment here. There are many comments that are coming in, but my producers have sent me this. It's from Eric N. Amwati, something, the last name I've not pronounced it well, but please excuse me. He or she says, no, I think Eric is, I don't know whether man or woman, but I would say
these days you can never know.
Yeah, you can never know. So let me read what it is. It said, you could have just built great universities in Uganda and using great educators from around the world, teaching and building the courses in Uganda, building great education institutes there. This should have started 30 years ago, and by now it would be run 100% Ugandans and could be world-class education. Richard, do you agree with that?
No.
Sure.
Let me analyze this thing.
Yeah.
First of all, I used to be a subcontractor in Isietiko. Me, I know very well, but I don't have the time to explain. I saw exactly what's happening. When this contracting issue started in Uganda, there was a very big project. I think it was Busunju Chiboga Road. It was done by Etats. Etats was a company in Busoga. I remember very well. And the money was borrowed from Uganda Development Bank. It was a Ugandan company, Etats, Uganda Development Bank, or East African Development Bank. By then, the president of Uganda was not so afraid of the people of Uganda making money. So this is what happened. The money was borrowed and equipments were brought from overseas. Graders, excavators, new. Because these people were being encouraged to take on the contract. But as Museveni started going to the phases of true dictatorship, the people in America would have got better loans from the American banks or American institutes or American governments. But they have conditions of leadership because they cannot sponsor a government that is oppressing its people. These are the terms the American people, the Western democracy, is focusing so much on the what? On the terms of borrowing money. The Chinese people, who are manipulators themselves, are not interested in anything. All they want is to get the job done. They don't care who is who in power. So these are the two different things that for us to get back the country, because if a contract is there that needs to be done and Ugandan engineers are not competent enough to everything, because they are not competent enough for some of the projects, we could only hire expertise from India, China, all around the world, bringing them in the country to work with the Ugandan contractors.
All right, so we're running out of time. How many I want to hear from you?
I want to say something. See, China is the reason why Uganda is in this problem is, I will still say it is more political than anything else. You know that for China to give loans to Museveni, because these are personalized loans, we call them government loans, but we know who benefits most from these loans going through. There was, you know the story of Sam Kutesa, how he can't come to the US anymore because China sent him money. This is before the 2016 election. So these, when I say terms and conditions, these are not clear terms and conditions that are ruled out, that are proper, that are thorough, that are authentic. These terms and conditions are personal, that, you know, we shall send you this money for your campaign, but also 30 or 40% of employees have to be Chinese. Do you understand?
Right.
It is different. Uganda is so different from China that Chinese, and that's why China is coming on the top right now, that Chinese are people that, it is a government that looks out for its people. That is the difference. Ugandan government, on the other hand, it looks out for the people in power, for individuals who run the government. That's why the Chinese will say, okay, we'll give you this loan, employ our people. Uganda will say, give me the loan, also give me this side money for my campaign, but bring your people, it is okay.
All right.
And the Ugandan, me who went to school for engineering, we are unemployed.
Okay, so guys, we are
so it is a political issue.
We're running out of time, guys. I can't add you more time. Okay, I'm just giving you one comment, 1 minute each, to talk about Bobby Wine and the Chameleon meeting. Remember they met, I think, on Sunday, when just a day after we had, completed our show. So this is what one of the comments when I read on Bobby Wine's Facebook page. He said, I met my brother, but, quote, I assured him that if he really means his words this time, then it would be good news for the struggle against this dictatorship. Now, when you pull out the statement, if he really means his words this time, does that mean that people, inclusive of even those in people power, top leadership, do not trust Chameleon?
No, one thing.
I'm giving 1 minute, sir.
But you'll add me more, because I've made a post about this on Facebook, and I've written, one thing you must understand, Chameleon has worked for President Museveni in terms of he was involved in Tubonga Nawe. But at the same time, he's not the only artist who was involved in Tubonga Nawe. People went to Tubonga Nawe, they rained praises for President Museveni, they were paid, they were doing a job. As a musician, I'll give him that. I'll let it pass because he was earning. He was on a job. Many musicians have been in Tubonga Nawe, and, we've forgiven them. But Bobby Wine's statement clearly, and when you go to that particular part, was, I think you're having more leaders right now, you're having more people wanting to join politics, either for personal gain, and their actions are completely different. They say something else, but do something else. For Chameleon, because he's been having a lot of backlash from the public, he needs to clean up and start acting on, if he's really going to fight against the dictatorship, it's not only about wearing berets. Be involved in mobilization, in sensitization, and in everything. And I've heard people say, oh, he has to sing a song. This is beyond singing a song, whether he doesn't sing a song or not, because sometimes he can come out with 10 songs about the dictatorship. But at the same time, he has to get involved in what it must take to bring about change. It must be actions, not only words. But at the same time, what I was asking Ugandans is, give Chameleon a chance. Just like you gave Bobby Wine a chance. Bobby Wine, we know his history, where he's coming from. I don't want to put both people in the same category. They don't belong in the same category, but I'm looking at Bobby Wine from where he comes from, where some Ugandans, when he came to the political arena, some Ugandans said, oh, he used to be a drug addict. We said, let's give him another chance. He must have cleaned up himself. He's a better person now, and he has not proved us wrong. Let's give Chameleon a chance. 2021 is not here. We still have some time. Chameleon, in 1-2 months, we could see his other side we haven't seen. Let's give him a chance. But and for me, I don't have any issue with these political ambitions. Though I still, and I will say it again, I've said here, I strongly feel he's not the right person to represent Ugandans in terms of mayorship in Kampala. That's a personal opinion. But I think we should be more.
I agree with you.
We should be more tolerant, because as much as Chameleon may not be able to run for Kampala, let's not just dismiss him away. Let's give him a chance. He has fans as well. He has people who love him because he's Chameleon. People who have loved his music for the last 20 years. So let's give him he could be having something to add on to our struggle. Because also Chameleon, I went and read his post. All he's asking for is give me a chance to prove myself. So let's not, throw stones at Chameleon. Let's not kill him before we give him a chance. Let's give him a chance and see what is he up to. Because if we refuse to allow people if our environment is not conducive to welcome and we see people for their true character, we may never get to know who is good and who is wrong. Because the moment you dismiss people, they become they either become violent or they become something else. Let's give him a chance. He may be ready. He may have seen the light. He may really be interested in working to see that he brings about change. Chameleon still drives, wherever he goes, Chameleon still has a following. He has people who love him. We need Chameleon to talk to those people who love him, to talk to them and let them understand change and understand why we need change in Uganda. So let's give him a chance.
I have 2 burning questions for Sarah. 1, if Museveni said people power tomorrow, should Ugandans give him a chance?
Definitely, no.
I want us to start from there.
Yes, you know why I'm going to...
Let's say Museveni woke up tomorrow. No, I am so sorry, they've been 33 years, but I'm sorry. Now I'm on people power. I want your votes.
Definitely not.
Okay. Let's do that.
Give me 1 second to explain that. You should not, again, looking at Chameleon in the same light as President Museveni is very, very unfair of you. Is very, very unfair of you.
How?
President Museveni has been in power for the last 33 years. President Museveni has done more wrongs than what Chameleon has done. Chameleon got involved in Tubonga now in 2016. He was paid money, and he's not the only artist who was in Tubonga. So many artists who were, there are some artists who are in Tubonga, and right now they're going to run for elective seats. What I'm trying to say, and I want Ugandans to understand, don't misquote me. Personally, I feel Chameleon is not the right person to represent Kampala. But what I'm saying, Chameleon has people who love him. Let's give him a chance, because if we crucify him right now, we may not know what Chameleon stands for. He may want to change. He may be reformed. He may be able to mobilize.
All right, guys, I'm running out of time.
Let me ask her one last question. One desperate question.
Yeah, sure.
Why should we give Chameleon a chance before we give other people who have been on opposition this whole time a chance? People are welcoming Chameleon, but they are not very receptive of people in opposition, like maybe Elias Lukwago or Dr. Chizabesi.
Let me.
You see where my problem is? Ugandans can be so forgiving.
Okay,
no,
just
like you see, allow me to respond to him.
Sure.
You see, Chameleon has come with open hands. He's saying, give me a chance. Dr. Besige has not told you, give me a chance. The other person has not told you, give me a chance. He has come with open hands. I'm telling you, I don't support his political ambitions. But what I'm saying is, he has come with open hands. He went out to Bobby Wine. Bobby Wine told him exactly what he needed to tell him. Let people see you by your actions. But if you don't give him a chance, how are you going to see the transformed Chameleon? How are you going to see that he's able to be someone different? How are you going to see his actions when you're crucifying him because of the the words that are being said?
Right,
I think we should. Let me finish up a little bit.
Sure.
I think for us to be able to run mature politics and be able, to proceed, we should be receptive. We should have grounds where we are able to welcome and accept. Because there are so many people. Listen, for a second. I have seen so many people there are so many people who are in NRM, but are not happy with where they are. But there is one gentleman, I think he comes from the side of Mokono or something. I know he's NRM, and then he said he wanted to join People Power. I saw how he was crucified and said, oh no, we don't want you to stay there. But you have people who are NRM in People Power right now. I think we need to be more receptive. I know Ugandans are angry and bitter, but we need to be more receptive.
Guys, we need everyone.
I am not asking any questions. I'm giving a small submission.
I'm not giving a chance. Richard, before you go on, there is a song by Bobby Wine. Let votes not divide us. Start from there.
Yeah.
No, for me, I've not heard that song. Honestly, I don't want to analyze things that I don't know. But what I don't know is Museveni has been fighting this man up to making the new constitution of Kampala City, this Elias Lukwago. Elias Lukwago has stood tests, beating, imprisonment, everything. A lawyer for the opposition to poverty level. Why would us, as the opposition,
as Uganda
in the opposition, give away a job for someone who's defending Kampala and the opposition, and give it to Mayanja, who's the mediocre?
Right, so I'm gonna let me give a small submission about Chameleon. I only asked 2 questions.
Just a minute. I'm going to go with this question. As you're giving a submission, I'm going to go with this question. Why wouldn't you, people in People Power movement, vote for Dr. Besige, who has been struggling for years, since 2001, arrested, sprayed with paper in the eyes, done everything? Why wouldn't you front him as the candidate for People Power, People's Government? Finish up and then I close them.
So let me talk about Chameleon first. I welcome Chameleon. And my reason for welcoming him is, first of all, because my president, Bobi Wine, first of all, welcomed him. And I trust my president's judgment. But also, I don't want to welcome him and give him everything he's looking for. He needs to prove to the people that he is worth their time. So he can't run in 2021 as mayor when in the last election he was singing praises for Museveni.
Oh, okay.
No, let me conclude.
I think this is a debate.
Let me give
guys,
two sentences.
I want to start with that debate next Saturday when we come back.
Let me give two more sentences about that. So what I'm suggesting is this. Chameleon shouldn't take Ugandans for granted and say, you support me through mayorship, ignore the people who have fought for you for all this time, and support me because I have changed, I am new, I am going to be your messiah.
I'm going to leave you this question again. I'm going to say it again, and I'm not giving you any other chance to say anything. Why would it be okay for people to say that we are fronting Bobi Wine as a presidential candidate, leaving behind men like Dr. Besigye who have struggled, tested everything in the years that President Museveni has been in power, and you come out to say that Chameleon is not a good guy because you have a god called Area Silkwago. Guys, I can't give you any time.
No, I'd like to respond to that quickly.
We're going to start with that. I want to thank you guys who have been watching the show for all this time. What you're doing is really great. Please keep on sharing. Some of the clips are going to be cut and re-aired on LifeM TV during the week, so you can always come back and watch the show again, and of course go back and share, join us next Saturday. We will be here. These guys are so fantastic, so I want to thank you so much for the comments. We've received all of them, and we continue receiving as many comments as possible. Then very soon we'll be in a position to start reading some of the comments. We expected calls today, but we ran out of time, so I want to thank you again. Have a great week. Again, remember, politics is politics. Whatever choice you make, it's about where you want to see your country move. Have a great time. Uganda Crossroads. My name again, Lubuurwa. See you then.